Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Rowaninski City. I'm just doing a very brief update. I've made some significant changes to the industrial areas, to the factories and to the warehouses. So as you can see, this is one of the areas, and in the background I've got my oil area, and I've done quite a significant amount of work there also. I've added extra processing plants, some roads. I've had to change some of the routing around there because it's getting quite busy and I'm using quite narrow dirt track roads, which causes a lot of problems. Right in front of us we've got the ore. The ore has not really been changed too much. I might have added a few extra little ore storage areas and some of the ore mining materials. The forest has been expanded. I've added a few more forest areas so that I could produce more raw materials, because I was getting very low and the sawmills couldn't produce enough planed timber, which I need for some of the factories. All in all, it's been a fairly impressive little couple of hours of doing this. I've changed this area as well. There was a few more small warehouses around here and it's basically causing a huge amount of tailbacks. I've also added a few more toll roads in so that the trucks only can exit quite easily out of there straight onto the highway. And I've added a few more kind of bypass areas because this junction, you can see it down the bottom left, is horrendous. It creates a huge amount of tailback and it's really not worth putting in. I should never have put one in, and I won't be using that in any future cities that I create. As you can see, some of my areas are now kind of desolate, and that's because I was running the real-time. That is because I was running the TMPE with spawning disabled, despawning enabled, which meant that the traffic was absolutely horrendous. Because the traffic was so bad, I just couldn't move goods around, people around, and I was ending up losing money hand over fist. And I went from something like 4.5 million in the bank down to just under $1 million. I did say to myself, if I get below $1 million, I am going to turn off the despawning and enable despawning, which I did, and now I'm creeping back up again to make some money. This area, which is the farming area, I haven't actually done anything with it yet. I've got no needs for that at the moment, but I have been playing around with the forestry, oil and ore. The main reason for that was because, as I said, I've added some new factories. I've got like the printing press, the electronics, which needs a few of the elements, and I put a rather large warehousing grid in the previous episode, which allows me to store a lot of the goods that are required. So you can see it's running quite smoothly at the moment. I'm quite pleased with it. I'm making a good amount of money actually, so it's well worth investing time in building up your industries. Having the entire industrial chain in place is actually very key. Starting small, you obviously have to create small industrial areas, or rather I put the actual industrial areas quite large, but you don't have enough money, so you only have to have a few of the little elements you can put in. So whether it's a small plantation or a small mining machine or an oil pump, you can do that and you build them up gradually, and it all becomes self-fulfilling. You end up you get the extra level ups, you get extra features, you can put those in and you can produce more and more. My initial mistake was I was putting in the processing elements, but I wasn't putting in anything to allow me to extract more oil or more ore or more forests to allow me to create more plain timber. Now that I've done that, it has helped hugely, and it has made my city more profitable. So all in all, it has been working rather well, and this is just a small set of the factories that are available. I can't remember what they are exactly off the top of my head, but I've got a lemonade factory which needs raw crops and plastics, maybe it's glass. We've got the electronics factory which requires 3 different elements. Again, I can't remember what they are. I've got a small warehouse nearby because I found that I was missing some goods, so I thought, well, if I put some of those elements in there, that'd be great. And the big warehouses now are filling up slowly as things are progressing. I think it'd be quite nice around this area to add some trees. It looks pretty bare, so the factories look very kind of just plonked there. They're not the most attractively designed locations, and you can see the traffic is flowing quite well. And I probably will turn on or enable the despawning feature just to see how much traffic occurs. I've made some significant changes to some of the road layouts around here as well. I did find that I had a junction here which was forcing everybody to turn left and then go back on themselves to be able to turn right. So hopefully that's now cleared up. Some of these junctions using TMPE, like you can see just there, could be tidied up so that one in particular where that yellow truck's just coming through should be right only, centre and left turn onlys. I must have put a toy factory down there by the looks of things. As you can see in the distance, I've got a big warehouse grid over at the top left. The oil industry is over in the middle at the top, like 12 o'clock. That is quite big. I've got a little road that zigzags its way down a cliff face, which I was quite impressed. I was thinking about that one night. I thought, maybe it'd be interesting to have something like that for like a highway so the cars can shoot down there. But I thought I'd give it a try first of all for the lorries. I would say for those people who are looking, there's a toll road and the toll booths. I think are a brilliant idea. You can use those for I've used them for when I create a tunnel which cuts from one side of the city to the other. Put a toll booth in there because actually, I guess sometimes you would have that in real world scenarios where somebody's paid a lot of money to put a tunnel in. It's quite expensive to run, so let's put some toll booths in and claim some money back. And as you can see, the lorry is going through that toll booth. It's quite a lot. Now I've deliberately blocked, I've changed using TMPE what traffic can go up and down that particular road. I want it to be lorries only, so no kind of private vehicles can be used down there. So I think it's lorries and SOS vehicles. It must be in one of the places which has got a really windy. Must be in one of the places which has got is designed to rain all the time. I mean, it rains a lot. So the forest area, you can see in front of you, the kind of middle and right sections I've added on recently. It was not producing enough materials, therefore I was not producing enough of the planed timber. I've added a couple of stores on the right hand side, and I've added a couple of sawmills as well to actually produce that kind of refined product. I've changed some of the routes around again. There is a huge amount of trucks, as you can see, now starting to pile up. I've put a couple of one-way roads in so that the trucks could go in and out in particular directions, because again, without that there just seems to be a massive pile up. And as you can see, that we're moving along now into the other area, which is the oil area, and you can see the amount of vehicles coming out of the oil zone is actually quite staggering. I actually do quite like the look of this, how it's kind of cut into the mounting. This is not me planning it like this, it's just the way that the roads have been produced and carved their own kind of way into it. What you can see in front of you here is a industry, well, it's not actually, it's a zone that's been made to use the oil industry. So these are kind of naturally grown industries which are oil related. You might be able to see now, just off centre to the bottom left, you can see, I think it's called, this is Ward Drive. That's the mounting kind of path. It goes up and down in a zigzag. I've got small and medium-sized storage. And then as we move into the zone, which is actually a really large industrial oil zone, you can see that I started to put quite a lot of pumping stations. Once again, I've got just over about what would be about 9 o'clock. There is 2 large oil storage areas for the raw crude that's been extracted. Vehicles are coming in there, and because it got so busy, I've made it a one-way route, and as you can see, they go down quite a steep path, and they go around, out, and then they come back up into the kind of 11-12 o'clock where that roundabout is. You can see there's an awful lot of trucks that go into and store that crude oil. So I assume because it's they're both set to balanced, there'll be trucks coming in and depositing, and other trucks coming in and collecting, and then moving it to one of the kind of fracking plant. It's not for cracking. I think it's a cracking plant to actually produce it into some form of product like petroleum or plastics. The sun is setting. We might even get to see it set on this slow camera pan. So again, you can see the trucks now queuing up and going down their little mountain path. And it goes all the way around, and they loop back on themselves and come up the other side. So just flying over very slowly over one of my 2 ore industries, what they would be called mining areas. I can't remember what this plant is, but it's huge. I've got 2 of those. So just over here, sort of the 12 till 5 o'clock area. That's another ore mining area. I've got a couple of underground mining areas and pits, and one large big kind of extractor unit there just down the bottom about 5 o'clock. Strangely, both of the ore mining areas seem to increase quite quickly from like levels 2 to 4, with very little need for me to actually put extra elements in them. Now that might be because when I first created the areas, I just plonked a load of stuff down straight away. I didn't need to add anything extra, so obviously one of the main things is the amount of jobs you've got in an area is what levels you up. So I think to get to something like level 4 or 5, you need 800 jobs in an industrial area. And you need to be producing so many units of raw material. Well, I think producing the raw material doesn't take too long to do, to be perfectly honest. So right in front of you, you can now see that I've got my 9 large warehouses. So these are storing one of each of the kind of materials that you require. So all the refined stuff, so like the timber, the plastic, petroleum, all those kind of elements are sitting in these large warehouses. Now just over there, about 10 o'clock, I've got my factories, and they had the smaller warehouses, but the small warehouses was generating a large amount of traffic. So I thought I'd move the small ones rather than sort of deleting them off into this grid. So I've added them into some of the areas which had space for them, basically. So I said this was going to be a short video, and I was actually wrong. It is nearly 18 minutes long. Anyway, you have seen the work that I have done to this city, because it's been needed to be modified slightly, so I've done just a quick overview. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, then please do subscribe. If you liked it, then please do like, and if you wish to share, that would be fantastic. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you again soon. Goodbye.